The visit of Melania Trump to the nation's capital. At Jimmy Carter's burial, she turned heads with her daring wardrobe choice. There were numerous comments and debates online in response to her peculiar nun-inspired clothing. Even though everyone was trying to pay tribute to the former president, her eye-catching outfit was getting people talking and adding fuel to the fire. Melania Trump's attire has been the source of controversy on multiple occasions. What was Melania's outfit that caused a stir online? We'll have to see. American politician and humanitarian Jimmy Earl Carter Jr. was the 39th president of the U.S. Eventually, on December 29, 2024, at the age of 100, the president went away. His life had been dedicated to helping his country. Metastatic melanoma is a difficult-to-treat malignancy, and he passed away 10 years after his diagnosis. 5 presidents were seated in the front row for a spectacular state celebration that buried him by January 2025. From 1977 until 1981, Carter was the president. Diplomacy on a global scale, energy efficiency, and environmental protection were priorities for his administration. He received extensive praise for his role in facilitating peace in the Middle East when he mediated the historic Camp David Accords, an accord that brought Egypt and Israel closer together. While the United States was experiencing an energy crisis in the 1970s, Carter made combating inflation and unemployment his top domestic priorities and championed the use of renewable energy sources. Overshadowed by crises like the Iran hostage crisis, Carter nonetheless made a mark with his commitment to ethical leadership and openness. Carter wasn't done making a difference to the nation when he left office. He established the nonprofit Carter Center, which supports health and democratic programs. Together with his wife, he was a dedicated Habitat for Humanity volunteer who helped build homes for people in need. Jimmy Carter's life is an inspiration despite his untimely demise from age-related illnesses. Carter is defined by his lifetime of dedication to humanity. Because of his selflessness, kindness, and commitment, the world is a better place. 5 presidents, Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, and George W. Bush, gathered before the pews for Jimmy Carter's funeral. To behold, it was a sight. In recognition of his selfless service to the nation, all 5 of the nation's living presidents were there. Not only did 5 presidents attend the burial, but 2 other ceremonies were also attended by other distinguished dignitaries. Melania Trump, though, stunned onlookers with her outlandish ensemble. The attire that Melania Trump wore to Jimmy Carter's funeral garnered a lot of attention because she is the incoming First Lady of the United States. During the state funeral for Jimmy Carter, as other dignitaries paid their respects, Melania Trump drew extra attention due to her unconventional attire. She looked stunning, but her choice of dress seemed out of place at a tribute for a former president. She stood out like a sore thumb in her black and white coat with its enormous white collar. As is typical at memorial services and funerals, the majority of attendees donned somber clothing. With his cobalt blue tie and black suit, Trump exuded an air of unwavering dignity. Melania, meanwhile, sported a Valentino Fall 2019 collection black and white collared trench coat. The Japanese business Undercover collaborated on the production of this coat. Her attire consisted of a lengthy trench coat with an unflattering collar and a belt that reached her ankles. Even though the rest of her attire was quite understated, her ensemble was obviously over the top. It was surprising that the soon-to-be flautist opted to wear a coat with large flaps over her shoulders during the memorial ceremony. Everyone had anticipated her to dress more modestly. The enormous collar, which features an image of lovers kissing, is another striking aspect of the trench coat. The internet reacted in a variety of ways to this. Many people felt her costume was out of place because it showed lovers kissing as she bid farewell to one of the presidents. Online mourners have been harshly critical of her attire, with some describing it as antiquated and others seeing it as indecent. The Handmaid's Tale, pilgrims, nuns, and choir costumes are among the things that they have compared it to. It has been suggested by some that she wore the dress solely to draw attention to herself during the occasion. Which is a poor decision because we were meant to be paying tribute to Jimmy Carter's retirement. Nevertheless, a few whispers have claimed that this ensemble conceals a message. With Melania's attire at Jimmy Carter's burial making headlines, many are wondering if it was a style statement or a gaffe. However, the key concern is if her attire conceals a hidden message that may account for her peculiar expression of displeasure. She appeared somewhat somber as she followed her husband to the state funeral, even though it was only 11 days before his inauguration. She took a seat in the back row, directly behind the 5 current presidents. Even though she was sitting very close to several former first ladies, Melania chose not to engage in conversation with any of them during the ceremony. Her over-the-top white collar, which displayed a sculpture of black and white kissing lovers, added to the strangeness of her otherwise somber ensemble. Once again, Melania has left her detractors baffled by her dress choices, leaving them to wonder what the hidden message is. Her ensemble is really evident, particularly considering that the dress is from 2019. A lot of people think she purposefully wore the garment that she found in her wardrobe. On the other hand, why would Melania desire to flaunt an outfit that flaunts an openly kissing couple? Many believe he was trying to send a message to her social circle when he picked out the Valentino trench coat. A Twitter user mentioned that Melania's coat dress from today was designed by Valentino. The ensemble she is wearing was created by Valentino using a print of the sculpture The Kiss. A bigger sculpture called The Gates of Hell was the inspiration for the smaller piece. What befits a room full of betrayers to wear? Many interpret Melania's words at the burial as an accusation of betrayal directed towards the mourners. Some have speculated that the attire may have been a nod to her mother's memory, who passed away a year ago on the same day as the state burial. Melania may not have been gazing down on anyone at the ceremony, she may have just been saddened by the anniversary of her mother's death. Still, internet commenters were quick to condemn her, pointing out her strange clothing and making assumptions about the meaning of her message. Someone asked why she resembles a pilgrim and what was making her so upset. Somebody else asked, what's up with Melania's look? With her buggy in tow, she resembles an Amish horse. Melania had also been publicly criticized for her attire during a funeral for Jimmy Carter's late wife, so this isn't the first time. A year before that, Rosalynn Carter. Several people found Melania Trump's attire at Rosalynn Carter's funeral to be inappropriate. As a result, that interpretation is hardly unexpected. It would have been inappropriate for Melania to wear a gray dress to a funeral, even while everyone else was modestly dressed in black. From 1977 to 1981, Rosalynn was the First Lady. She passed away at the age of 96. President Bill Clinton and First Lady Joe Biden were all in attendance. On the other hand, her choice of clothing raised serious eyebrows. Accessorizing her outfit with a gray tweed coat, loose hair, and jewelry, including her engagement and wedding bands, she looked stunning. Right away, a lot of people started talking about her dress on the internet. A lot of people thought she took advantage of the burial for some photo ops and a catwalk. Meanwhile, there were many who insisted that gray suits are appropriate for funerals. Her attire was deemed conventional and courteous, according to some. It is still her detractors' contention that she deliberately dresses provocatively at prestigious occasions. Both during and after her husband's administration, Melania Trump has had a number of fashion disasters, such as the ones shown here after his funeral. The former model frequently appears in the works of renowned high fashion houses such as Gucci, Ralph Lauren, Carolina Herrera, Balenciaga, Hermes, Chanel, Christian Dior, Christian Louboutin, Ralph Lauren, and Balenciaga. She has always felt confident in her fashion-forward clothing, but it hasn't stopped her from experiencing some serious setbacks. An ill-fated Balenciaga bubble coat that she beheld once was criticized for its excess and worn with slouchy shoes. On a separate occasion, she wore a dress by the French label Celine and white heels by the brand Manolo Blahnik while on a charitable mission in Ghana. Her high fashion arsenal was the target of several criticisms. She continued to make headlines for all the wrong reasons: a cream suit, white button-up, black tie, and fedora, even in Egypt. Viewers couldn't help but notice Melania's disheveled and slightly oily hair, in addition to her bizarre attire that went viral. Many discussions and assumptions were prompted by this. Many people took to social media to speculate as to whether her disheveled hairstyle was deliberate or the result of an oversight. Some even went so far as to suggest that Donald Trump, with his characteristically unruly and peculiar orange hair, may have had a hand in getting her hair ready. During and after Melania's funeral, people continued to talk about her hair. She has been in the news before for her hairdo. During the 2020 Republican National Convention, her thick hairstyle was panned for being too dramatic and an eyesore. Similarly, her hair turned heads on a 2018 visit to Texas following Hurricane Harvey because it looked perfectly styled and unnaturally flawless, even though the event had a serious tone. Given the seriousness of the accident, many said, the slick design was tone-deaf and inappropriate. She had several instances of her hair being attacked when she traveled to Saudi Arabia in 2017. The event's diplomatic significance was overshadowed by her glossy and stylish hairstyle, which she opted for instead of a headscarf. Because Melania is so self-conscious about her looks, her occasional unkempt hairstyle has been a hot topic in public discussions. While some adore her style, others can't stop pointing out her flaws. It was Carter's ill-advised attire and untidy hair that set the tone for the burial. Many wondered if she was trying to convey an air of understated elegance or if her usual careful grooming had fallen a bit flat. People are often critiquing Melania's fashion choices, particularly her hairstyle, and the comments varied from funny memes to serious criticisms. Some people were staring at Melania oddly since she was wearing an unusual attire to Carter's burial. People began to wonder about the connections between the Pence and Trump families after Mike Pence's wife, who was vice president at the time, purposefully ignored Melania. At that point, Donald Trump approached Mike Pence for a handshake. Later, Pence discussed their brief encounter, stating that all they did was shake hands and say hello. But the big controversy that everyone was talking about occurred just after that. Trump persisted in making his way down the aisle. And Karen Pence never got out of her chair, declined to shake his hand, and stayed put. Without even glancing at Trump or Melania, she continued on her way. Rather, she sat quietly and eagerly anticipated the entire event. In stark contrast to her cordial greetings of George W. and Laura Bush, the former Second Lady's reaction was cold and distant. Even more so than seeing the Trumps, she couldn't wait to see them. Mike Pence's cautious response to the interviewer's question regarding his wife's behavior may have been an admission of strain. He responded, "You'd have to ask my wife about her posture." He went on to say that after 4 years of marriage, both his wife and his spouse have grown to love and respect each other. His wife apparently ignored the Trumps because of him, according to this response. It's no secret that following the 2020 election, tensions arose between the Trump and Pence families. And it ranks among the most momentous political events of the past few years. It was clear that her disdain for Melania had nothing to do with her attire. Even though Melania's attire at Jimmy Carter's funeral went viral, the solemn ceremony was nevertheless full of interesting characters and events. While his wife was in the news for one reason, Donald Trump was in the spotlight for another when he attended Jimmy Carter's funeral. He was engaged in a cordial conversation with President Barack Obama. It came as a surprise, considering their reputation as political enemies. "I didn't realize how nice it looked. Boy, they look like two people that like each other. And we probably do." Trump refused to divulge the subject of his conversation with Obama in an interview conducted following the funeral. He only stated, "We have slightly different ideologies, don't we? I was unaware, we simply got along. I got along with everybody on this." Their relationship has improved to the point where they are no longer considering running for president together. Many were taken aback by this because they were notoriously divisive in American politics. Trump, however, did not rise to greet Obama as the past presidents and vice presidents had done. This was noticed by all. Shortly after, he sat down opposite Trump and, shockingly, they began to converse face to face. The two political rivals were being courteous to each other for the first time. At the same time, VP Kamala Harris posted a photo at Jimmy Carter's funeral, but she forgot to include one important individual. Aside from Trump, the other 4 living presidents included in her photo all had their hands crossed over their hearts throughout the event. Given that Trump was seated close to Obama at the ceremony, this appeared to be done on purpose. Many people on the internet took notice of her article right away. Many considering it the best photo crop of all time. Not only did Harris not include the Trumps in the funeral images shared on X, previously Twitter, but so did the Carter Center, which the former president and his wife founded. Everyone noticed that Barack Obama was missing a companion when he arrived for the burial. Melania Trump's attire at Jimmy Carter's burial has gone viral, and Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, is still nowhere to be found. There was speculation that a scheduling difficulty was to blame for Michelle Obama's absence at this significant event. Even during the funeral, she seemed to be on an extended festive vacation. But once she said she wouldn't be attending Donald Trump's second inauguration, the rumors started flying. Many believe she skipped the burial so she could avoid sitting close to Donald Trump. She was unable to attend the funeral, though, because she was in Hawaii at the time. The presence of a sitting president at the inauguration of a new president is significant symbolically since it marks the passing of the presidential torch. Though she isn't the first to do so, her choice does indicate a departure from conventional wisdom. Despite being the leaders before him, even Trump and Melania had not attended Joe Biden's inauguration in 2020. The former First Lady's feelings towards Trump have not been kept quiet. Since she clearly does not like him, it is reasonable to assume that she will not be present during his inauguration. She has previously stated that she cried during Trump's first inauguration and vowed never to forgive him for the way he had threatened her family's safety with his words. Because it was the first event of its kind to bring together so many prominent figures at once, the funeral for former President Jimmy Carter was the center of attention. A number of vice presidents and their wives were also present, in addition to 5 living presidents. However, there were a few standout moments that caught everyone's eye. Obama and Trump, who had been publicly antagonistic for years, finally exchanged pleasantries. The eulogy that Biden delivered in honor of Carter has also been making rounds. The worst transgression in a democratic society, he said during his lecture, is the abuse of power. The cameras that had been following the ceremony now turned to the other sitting past presidents. It was ironic because these former presidents have been vocal about their concerns about Trump's potential abuse of power once he assumes the presidency. Along with her husband, Kamala Harris showed up but failed to offer a greeting to anyone. She chose to sit down instead. She came across as cold and distant when she met the Bidens, and the two couples avoided talking to one another. To a large extent, Harris anticipated. She walked around to greet Obama, Bush, and his first wife after the event. Neither did she communicate with Trump. The quick belly tap that Bush offered Obama was another memorable moment. Among all the dignitaries that were present at the event, the two displayed the warmest behavior towards one another. On the other hand, neither Michelle Obama nor former Vice President Dick Cheney showed up to the festivities. Regarding the head judges, not present at the funeral were Neil Gorsuch and Clarence Thomas. Even though it was a somber moment to remember the former president's legacy, Jimmy Carter's burial became a focal point of public scrutiny and internet controversy. Melania Trump's attire for the event exemplified the power of social media to spark debates. Opinions were divided about her Valentino coat, which featured an image of lovers kissing and had a large white collar. People on social media wasted little time chiming in, drawing comparisons to pilgrim outfits and choir robes and even alluding to nightmarish images from The Handmaid's Tale. She sparked disputes over the intentionality or misguidedness of her choice, which turned what might have been a discreet fashion statement into a meme-worthy topic of conversation. Beyond the realm of style, Melania's hair was another target of online criticism. Some users deemed it disheveled and oily. Memes and jokes over her hairstyle, including lighthearted conjecture regarding the role of Donald Trump, circulated on sites such as X, the former Twitter. The public seemed to view these remarks as further evidence that they may criticize her for any part of her appearance. Another topic of discussion among internet users during the funeral was the interpersonal dynamics of the attendees. Karen Pence's apparent snub, in which she avoided making eye contact with Melania, stoked rumors about underlying animosity. The two presidents' cordial exchanges, as well as Trump's chat with Obama, have prompted larger conversations regarding the realities of politics. People took note of Michelle Obama's absence as well, and some even made stories out of her choice to skip the event.